Six Flags Great Adventure opened in 1974, starting off with 2 coasters in that opening year, and over the years, they've seen almost 30 coasters come and go, and going into the 2025 season, they will have 13 operating. This park has had one of the best coaster lineups for years, despite a few recent casualties, but that doesn't mean it can't get even better. Today, let's go around the park and find one thing that we can fix for every coaster. Some coasters have easy fixes, some are more challenging, and some are downright ridiculous. So, I'm giving each one a possibility grade. We'll go from easy, it can be done today with no effort, to medium, would take some effort and money, to hard, would take a pretty significant effort, to fantasy, things that are just not realistic. Let's enter the park, hang a left, and go all the way to the Golden Kingdom. This is where Kingda Ka used to be, a stalwart at the park for 20 years, the world's tallest and fastest coaster when it opened, keeping the world's tallest title all the way to the end. Let's pretend this isn't gone. What could the park have done to make it better? Assuming the hydraulic launch was the problem, the best thing they could have done is to get Intamin to make this a swing launch. Not Zamperla, Intamin. Zamperla hasn't proved themselves yet, and we know Intamin can make both a swing launch and a train that can handle 120 plus miles an hour. I would consider this a hard change, not only because of the cost and effort to do this, but also because there's not a lot of room behind Kingda Ka, and this would absolutely require Green Lantern to go. So if I was doing this for Green Lantern, I would say the best thing to fix it is to tear it down and call that easy since it's already done. Kingda Ka would also benefit from replacing the hard over-the-shoulder restraints with lap bars, just like Top Thrill Dragster. I would normally call this a medium change, but I am pretty sure it's New Jersey law that makes them use the bulky restraints. So this is upgraded to hard because they need to get a law changed, and that's not always a slam dunk. Heading back into the boardwalk, we pass by the vacant land where Green Lantern was, and find Superman Ultimate Flight, the B&M Flyer. This model debuted at Six Flags Over Georgia in 2002, and a year later, Great Adventure got an exact clone. Only difference is, the one at Over Georgia was built for its terrain, and Great Adventures was put in the parking lot, so it's got a flat plot of land. They did a nice job dressing it up, but you're basically flying around a grassy park. My biggest improvement would be to add some near-miss elements, some theming to wind around, buildings to fly through, dress up the area so you see more than track and grass. They could work it into a Superman story, fly through the offices of the Daily Mail, fly around a skyscraper, thread the needle kind of like Galactica does. I put this as a medium change, no track work needed. All you would be doing is adding theming elements to contour to the layout. On to Plaza del Carnaval, let's ride El Toro, the Intamin prefabricated wooden coaster. When this opened in 2006, it was one of the greatest coasters ever built, but 2006 was a long time ago, and this ride has had a lot of issues in the past 4 years. It's gotten rough, it had the back car derail, it had a structural problem that caused a big pothole. It's been down for long periods of time, but every time Six Flags has committed to getting it fixed, passed state inspections, and reopened to the public. I rode this for the first time in 5 years this past summer, and for the first time the roughness did bother me. This layout is so unbelievable, my fix would be to put RMC iBox track on it. I know, this is not going to be super popular, this would take it from a wooden coaster to a steel coaster, but this has had major downtime and retracking in the last few years, and it's still running rough. RMC iBox track would make it super smooth, and you can keep all those elite airtime moments. I'm putting this as hard. I don't know how compatible this is for iBox track, what that would mean for the trains. I do really like the long 36 passenger Intamin trains. That gives the ride the whip that makes it what it is. I wouldn't want to change that by putting on 24-seat RMC trains. Going into the back corner of the park in Frontier Adventures, we run into the park's oldest coaster, Runaway Mine Train. After my rides in 2024, I deemed this one of the great mine trains I've been on. So much chaos in the second half, especially in the back row. Possibly the most forceful mine train out there. It's not really a short mine train. It has almost 2,700 feet of track. That's pretty standard for a mine train. But I think they could have made this one better by making it longer. This only has 1 lift. A lot of mine trains have 2 or 3. And there is so much land along the lake between El Toro's big turnaround and Medusa's dive loop. It would be amazing to have it continue along that path, weaving between the trees, turn around and hit a second lift and pick up where that opening helix leaves off. This is obviously a fantasy. No way they extend a 50-year-old mine train. And even as it is, it's pretty awesome. Even further into Frontier Adventures, you have Medusa, the B&M Florless. This is off the beaten path in the far corner of the park, almost touching the safari, and it's got a pretty plain flat plot of land. When this was rethemed to Bizarro in 2009, it was given some fresh theming elements at the bottom of the first drop and around the interlocking corkscrews. When this was rethemed again in 2022, it went back to Medusa, and it was given this elaborate western backstory, even putting that story in the queue. However, they kept the same Bizarro theming on the ride. I think the best change would be to capitalize on the new theme. Replace the Bizarro theme with the Western Medusa theming. Dress up that lower the ground second half to really immerse the riders into the story. I'm putting this as medium, pretty similar to Superman. No track work or layout modifications, just some well-placed theming elements that make the ride experience better. Going across the center of the park, you have the Joker, the SNS free spin. This was built in 2016, a great setting at the end of the main entrance right on the edge of the lake, flipping riders around their own axis. How much you flip depends on how balanced the weight in the car is, and it is a short ride but very disorienting, and dare I say, nauseating. My fix would be something we've seen on other free spins out there. Give this a wild side and a mild side. They have this on Dragon Slayer at Adventureland. I rode both sides and the difference is absolutely noticeable. The mild side may have flipped once, the wild side never stopped flipping. I think there's enough of a split between people who want to be thrashed around and people who want to take it easy. There wouldn't be a mad rush for one side and not the other. From my experience at Adventureland, there wasn't much of a line for either side, but it didn't seem like one was more popular from the other. I honestly don't know if people even knew there were two different experiences. They probably just picked the shortest line, but for those in the know, it'd be nice to have two options. I'm putting this as medium. They might need to make some adjustments to the trains. I'm not sure how they make the two sides different, but if they do this on some of their free spins, I can't imagine they couldn't do it for all of them. Right next to Joker is Harley Quinn Crazy Train, the Zero Family Coaster. This uses a long 20-car train to navigate two figure eights, and part of the ride's appeal is that humongous centipede of a train doing what it does. But to me, that long train makes for a slow and boring ride experience. To make the ride better, I would cut the trains in half and have two 10-car trains instead of one 20-car train. How this would work when it comes to block zones? It probably doesn't because the station is the brake run. So yeah, that'd probably be a non-starter unless they leveled out the last part of the ride and made that the brake run before turning to the station. That's never gonna happen, but neither is cutting the trains in half, so obviously this is a fantasy. I'm nitpicking on this one. It's a good family coaster, not much you can do to make it better. Staying along the back edge of the park, we have Skull Mountain, the intimate indoor family coaster. When I rode this in 2024, it had strobe lights and music, and almost seemed like it was some kind of crazy rave. No theming, except for a skull at the very end when you hit the brakes. If this was named EDC Mountain, or was at all relevant to a rave theme, then it would be perfect. But it's Skull Mountain. It's supposed to be creepy. You look at the skull facade on the outside of the ride and don't think rave. So my fix would be to put some appropriate theming inside the building. Creepy projections on the walls, low-hanging spiders. I don't want to be their creative team, just whatever makes sense to fit the theme of Skull Mountain. I put this as a medium change, and I do give them credit for not making it just totally dark in there. That would be the easiest path, but the rave atmosphere just doesn't fit. Now, we go into the kids section, Junior Thrill Seekers, and Fine Little Devil Coaster, the Zamperla Gravity Kids Coaster. This used to be called Roadrunner Railway, but that was torn down and rebuilt in another spot in the park, and I think when they did this, they missed an opportunity to replace those old Zamperla trains. I know, I'm a broken record when it comes to fixing kiddie coasters, but I'm gonna say it again. Give it bigger trains. Parents want to ride this with their kids, and these make it really hard for some parents to do so. I know it can be done. I rode the roomy trains on SpongeBob's Boating School Blast at SeaWorld in Australia, and ever since, I'm just thinking, why can't every gravity coaster have these? That one opened in 2015, and a lot of others opened around the turn of the century, so that's probably why. This is a medium change. They just need the incentive to buy these upgraded trains, and so far they haven't wanted to. On to Pine Barrens, we find Jersey Devil Coaster, the RMC Raptor. I've never liked the trains on these, from the awkward way you have to sit to the over-the-shoulder restraints. But to be honest, even though these exist on the original Raptors, those are still great rides. I never liked Jersey Devil that much, so I think there are better ways to make it better. Unfortunately for me, they aren't realistic. They'd have to make it taller and give it more speed, or reprofile the airtime hills in the dive loop to make them more snappy. The stall can stay the same height, that's the best part of the ride, but I got so spoiled with the power of the original Raptors, the large park model just doesn't do it for me. Smaller elements would give it the bite it's missing, but obviously that's a fantasy. No way they do this. To give it more speed, your best bet is probably to speed up the chain lift, and even then, I don't know if that'd make much of a difference. Right next door, we have Nitro, the B&M Hyper. This is one of the better B&M Hypers, not using seatbelts which does help dispatch times, combining some great negatives going out, strong positives going to the mid-course, and a very good finale. One of the better finales among the B&M Hypers. However, it could be better. I would turn off the mid-course brakes and let the train fly to that finale. It could be a magnum level of insanity, just getting rocketed out of your seat on every hill, taking a very good finale and making it legendary. All they have to do is turn the brakes off, and that's an easy fix. If they do so, suddenly Nitro is right there in my top 15 coasters. On to Movie Town and Batman the Ride, their B&M Inverted Coaster. Small, compact, powerful, also has decent theming in the queue. There isn't much you can do to make Batman better. I'm going to apply the same fix as the one at Magic Mountain, reprofile that one slow turnaround. If your coaster is all about power and forces, then do everything you can to maximize power and forces. That twist up after the second loop leads to a very slow buzzkill turnaround before the first wing over. If they kept that upward twist lower to the ground, they could whip around to that first wing over, keeping the pacing of the ride better, and probably making the finale that much more intense. This is a fantasy, never gonna happen, and a very minor nitpick for an otherwise solid coaster. Right across the path is Dark Knight, the enclosed Mock Rides Wild Mouse. This was built to piggyback off the 2008 movie the same name, and the queue does a great job playing off the movie. Once you're on the ride, the theming is very minimal, but they do make a good effort right off the lift. Those first two turns are pretty well themed, and basically nothing after that. I love these Dark Knight coasters because they don't ride the trims. They let it fly, and that's great. But to make this a more immersive experience, they should carry on its theming from start to finish. I put this as a medium change. It would take some planning and effort, but they had the right idea to start. They just need to invest some more money and make this more than just a wild mouse in a box. Take a page out of the Laugh Track book, theme it all the way. Heading into Metropolis for one final coaster, the Flash Vertical Velocity, the new for 2025 Vekoma Super Boomerang. I've never ridden this, obviously, so I can't speak to the ride experience and how that could improve. So let's talk about capacity. The Flash can really only run one train, being a shuttle coaster. It seats 24 riders per car, and I do not envy people trying to get on this ride right after it opens. That wait time is going to be nasty. There isn't much they can do to improve capacity, but if they were feeling ambitious, they could install a turntable. This is what they use on mock power splashes, also shuttle coasters, but they load one train while the other train's on the course, and then use the turntable to trade places. I don't see why that wouldn't work on the Flash, but I'm still putting this as hard. It would be a very invasive project. I don't know if Vekoma has anything like this they can plug in, or would have to design it from scratch, and it would cause major downtime of the ride, as we saw when Over Texas put a turntable in Aquaman. Not a total fantasy, but a big ask for the park at this point. It would have made way more sense to install this from the start. So, 14 coasters including King Ka. Let's see how all my fixes break down in terms of category. Only 4 of them are fantasy. That's pretty good in my opinion. That means there isn't a 0% chance of possibly getting some positive changes in the future. 3 of them are hard, 6 are medium, mostly around adding or enhancing theming. And unfortunately, only 1 is easy. That's turning off the mid-course breaker on a Nitro. Let me know what you think of my picks, what you would do different, if you disagree with my difficulty rating. Anything else you want to add to the conversation, sound off in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please drop a like, and if you're new here and love coasters, please give me a sub. If you want to see more episodes in this series, I have a playlist, that link's down below. I want to thank my Patreons. If you want bonus access, bonus content, and have your name listed at the end of each video, check my links below and join. Also, check out my second channel, where I post copyright-free off-ride footage. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.